what's the emergency?
Hi, I have a location guy saying that he just killed 2 people.
It sounds like you became enraged, right?
I guess you could say that, but I was also intensely in fear. You can be in fear and be enraged at the same time, David. Would you agree with that? No, you're dodging the question, David. You're dodging the question.
I'm not here to be interviewed. You've agreed to be interviewed. In 2017, Devin Arthurs was a psychotic young killer with a head full of hate and a hair trigger.
Screw that camera, screw everybody else. I'm not trying to be hostile with you, David. You know, I really do appreciate you coming out here to see me.
I'm afraid he's going to start shooting people.
You told the police, and I just blast him, and he's shot in the chest, and I double tapped. Double tap meaning?
I would imagine that would mean...
You don't have to imagine. You know what you did.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It means that I killed him.
You shot him twice in the head.
Yeah.
What rifle?
The AK-47.
Right in the Jeremy's room, and then I looked his face. It's blown off.
You consider yourself a terrorist? By the definition of what I've done.
Now this self-described former terrorist is talking for the first time about the strange mix of malice and madness that drove him to kill. Is Andrew witnessing this?
Yes.
And is he in the line of fire?
Yes.
And he's answering for the bloody rampage that took 2 lives. Where did you shoot him?
I don't remember.
How many rounds did you fire?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't like to think about things.
There's blood everywhere. Yeah? The smell of gunpowder and smoke?
Yeah.
I just went.
He's walking towards a shopping area. He's grabbing the backside of his pocket.
I could have killed everybody in that building, and I didn't. I could have killed those 2 officers, and I didn't.
You think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
I'm telling you that that wasn't my intent, so don't try to frame it that that was my intent.
A deeply disturbed mind on display for all to see, and under the influence of violent online extremists. Let me ask you this. Did you say that you're sane or insane?
Hi, I have a white Caucasian guy. He came to the office saying that he just killed 2 people.
On May 19, 2017, in Tampa, Florida, the manager of a gated condo complex dialed 911.
Do you see a weapon on him?
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, he definitely, I think he has...
18-year-old Devin Arthurs had just snapped, shooting and killing 2 roommates with a Russian Army rifle. The double murder shocked and confused the Tampa Bay community.
This is quite a bizarre case.
According to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, this is his first adult arrest.
Local news reports focused on how such a teenager got himself mixed up with the wrong people.
And killed his roommates because they were neo-Nazis.
This is a case that has a lot of people scratching their heads. What would drive an 18-year-old young man to kill 2 people?
Forensic psychiatrists quickly diagnosed him as schizophrenic and bipolar. His peculiar behavior was all over the news.
Everyone in the courtroom got a first-hand look at Arthurs appearing to choke himself to the point of unconsciousness.
And investigators probed a dangerous intersection between a deranged young man and the world of online terrorism.
Like, I'm sympathetic with groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that.
Arthurs pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and met his punishment.
I will adjudicate him guilty. I will sentence him to 45 years in Florida State Prison.
I've hurt my family significantly. I've hurt friends and family of the victims as well.
2 years into his prison sentence, deep in the pine forests of Northwest Florida, Arthur says he's ready to talk for the first time about his madness. We're starting now. Good. His mayhem and his murders. I want you to know that we're here talking to you today to try and understand the mindset and motivation behind your actions in this case, okay? I'd like to ask you, why are you here today talking to us?
I wanted people to know the full context and the scope of what occurred and why it occurred. I really wanted to get the truth across.
What Arthur believes is true changes with the shifting sands of a troubled mind. But his story starts in an ordinary home in Orlando, Florida. In 2014, Devin Arthur's father was just about fed up with his teenage son's bizarre antics. The boy spent way too much time alone in the dark reaches of the internet. Then one day, a package arrived containing a book. A copy of Mein Kampf?
Yes, I ordered it on Amazon.
You were how old?
I was 14.
The book was, of course, Adolf Hitler's infamous manifesto. And for Arthur's father, it was the last straw. And he confronts you. What does he say?
He says, we don't have this in our house and stuff like that. Keep in mind, people are telling me, oh, well, anybody that tries to basically tell you against the party line is an enemy and a traitor.
Arthur's father threw him out, and soon the troubled boy dropped out of school and even further down the rabbit hole of online extremism. He now claims he was easy prey for the domestic terror movement because of his mental disorders.
They exploit the flaws and the cracks that you can find. I was vulnerable because of mental illness. When you look at people that have issues that are not neurotypical, they get driven into these movements because they're drawn into it.
So you're saying that you were essentially captive to this movement?
No, what I'm saying is absolutely, yes.
Because
yes,
the record suggests a lot of volition on your part. You realize that, right?
Volition pretty much in the context of how?
Well, you were a willing participant. The record shows that Arthur's was not naively led astray, but one of the group's leaders, actively promoting the movement and its hate-mongering, alongside his mentor, a young neo-Nazi named Brandon Russell, who called himself Odin.
To all the outsiders who try to hinder our efforts, I say this to you. I created something beautiful. Beautiful things scare you people.
I've read some of your posts. Truly despicable stuff.
They are despicable.
And Jews,
yeah,
bad
that's
news.
Wrong.
You wrote those words?
I did. Because
all
people
Jews
were telling
are
me
subversive. It's in their nature.
And that was wrong.
How about this? We's taking your women's.
Wrong.
Think again.
Wrong.
Oil drilling is just as gross as coal burning. Both
Wrong.
create mongrels.
Yes, that's wrong.
Those were your terms for interracial sex and mixed race
yes,
children, right?
It was.
You wished ill on whole groups of people.
It's easy to...
People like me. Mongrels like me.
And it was wrong.
And neither of your own parents had as much influence as...
No, because they capitalized on trying to turn me against my own family. That's what ISIS does. That's what the Nazis do. They're evil. They are the epitome of evil.
Well, you say they, but you were in it. You were part of it.
I fell for a lie, David.
In fact, Arthur's fell for two. Within a year, the troubled teen went from one extreme to another, literally. First marching in lockstep with the neo-Nazi movement, and then suddenly paying allegiance to the terrorist Islamic State.
I'll be honest, I'm sympathetic with groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that.
In one breath, you're wishing your online buddies Happy Führer Day, right? Mm-hmm. And in the next, you're defending ISIS. Do you see how bizarre that is?
It's very bizarre. They filled my brain with violence, and David, I was coerced by it.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
But the truth may lie not in which brand of hateful terror Arthur says he believed in when, but how his deranged mind was wired for both extremes, and ultimately for murder. So do you think that it is part of your mindset, your personality, your mental state that you are given to extremes?
Well, yes, sir.
On May 19th, 2017, Devin Arthur's lethal mix of mental derangement and violent manifesto was about to explode. By then, he was living with Brandon Russell in the inconspicuous condo that served as the group's headquarters. 2 young recruits had just moved in, unaware that Arthurs was drifting ever closer to a new extremist cause and a killing spree. There's a growing tension in the household.
Correct.
And you're cleaning your rifle.
Yes.
What rifle?
The AK-47.
Devin, tell me in as much detail as you can recall what happened that night.
Officers entered the apartment to check for victims. They discovered 2 deceased white male subjects.
Jeremy Himmelman and Andrew Onischuk both fit the profile for extremist recruitment. They were both high school dropouts and troubled young men trying to find themselves. Instead, they found Devin Arthurs and his fellow online Nazis in the domestic terror group he helped to establish, the Atomwaffen Division. What was the mission of Atomwaffen Division?
The mission of Atomwaffen Division and its right was trying to overthrow the U.S. government and implement a National Socialist state.
Targeting government structures, targeting people.
And targeting minorities in an all-out race war, as was reported at the time.
Atomwaffen's been training for what they believe is a coming war.
Point it at them and pull the trigger. The only right they deserve is the right of lead. Hail Hitler.
Arthurs had been living with the group's leader in this unassuming gated condo community. Take me inside. What does it look like? What am I seeing?
You're gonna see a North Korean flag on the wall. You're gonna see explosives in the garage. You're gonna see a giant Nazi war banner in the room. You're gonna see a picture of Timothy James McVeigh.
Timothy McVeigh?
Yeah, and you're gonna see—
the Oklahoma bomber.
Yes. You're gonna see different books that pertain to bomb making, the Anarchist Cookbook, the Turner Diaries.
All required reading for terrorist groups.
Yeah,
like
basically crazy books utilized by crazy people.
Inside, the group amassed guns and bomb-making materials. Arthurs had helped lure young recruits into the fold. I've seen correspondence where you're recruiting and screening recruits for racial purity.
When was that? I'm just saying, like,
you deny that?
I'm denying that wholeheartedly.
People who are applying are offering up their ancestry for vetting.
Offering up their ancestry for vetting?
That's right. There's one particular young man who has who says he's got Caribbean blood, and you're asking him about the nature of that. You ask him if he's 1/8 native. None of that rings a bell?
None of it rings a bell.
It's all in the record. At one point, we know Arthurs even seized the leadership of Atomwaffen, even though he continues to try to diminish his role in the group. At one point, you were the acting leader.
No, I was
deny
not.
That. You were writing posts saying, "I am in charge in Brandon Odin's absence," and positioning yourself explicitly as the acting leader.
And what operations did they conduct during that time period?
You're saying that you did not position yourself as the acting leader?
I took advantage of that vacuum of power.
On May 1st, 2017, 2 young recruits, Himmelman and Onischuk, arrived at the Florida Hate Group from their homes in Massachusetts, unaware of the dangers that awaited them inside. By the time they had moved in, Devin Arthurs had drifted away from the online neo-Nazi movement. He was still ranting and raving on the internet, but increasingly for an entirely different violent movement, ISIS. And now you're soaking up Islamic extremist propaganda. You say, I'm sympathetic to groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that. So now you've gone literally from one extreme to another.
Yeah, it was silly. It was dumb, man.
Is it true that you pledged allegiance to ISIS?
I never actually physically went over there. I mean, if you want to say that I supported it, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And you're drifting ideologically from the strictures of far-right fascism.
Correct.
And you have converted to Islam.
Correct.
And your house guests were especially annoyed by your newfound religious practice.
Correct.
And they even say that you tried to convert them. Is that true?
I had discussions with them about it, but I never tried to convert them. But there was a lot of different headbutting pertaining to the difference of ideology, yeah.
There's a record that suggests that they were trying to get out of this. One of them writes to the other one, wake up so we can leave the hole. Don't want to listen to this cuck pray for another minute.
Wow. All right, so he was basically offended by somebody praising God.
And you were offended that you were being ostracized online and perhaps in real life because of your newfound faith.
Correct.
And your Nazi friends, both online and in real life, are pretty fed up with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Arthurs began calling himself Khalid and preaching his new brand of ISIS terror to Himmelman and Honestchuk. And that was not what the newcomers signed up for. There's a growing tension in the household.
Correct.
It's Friday, May 19th.
Yes, sir.
And you're cleaning your rifle.
Yes.
What rifle?
The AK-47.
At some point, Jeremy makes the fatal mistake of, according to you, ridiculing you and your faith.
He holds up my Quran. He threatens to throw it at me. And he said, I found your book of sin or fairy tales on my dresser.
Emotions that he's going to throw the book?
Yes.
But he doesn't throw it.
Well, because he ended up being shot.
So you shoot Jeremy, right? In the chest? According to what you told police?
Yeah. It's been a long time since I thought about it. I don't like to think about things like that.
You told police. I remember I just blast him once, and he's shot in the chest, and he's down. And I double tapped. It sounds like you lost control of yourself.
Yes.
Double tap meaning?
I would imagine that would mean that I...
Well, you don't have to imagine. You know what it means.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It means that I killed him.
You shot him twice in the head.
Yeah.
After shooting him in the chest. Is Andrew witnessing this?
Yes.
And is he in the line of fire?
Yes.
How did you shoot him?
I suppose I did it with the same rifle, right?
Where did you shoot him?
I don't remember.
How many rounds did you fire?
I don't remember. I don't like to think about things like that.
Arthurs becomes visibly uncomfortable and starts looking for ways to avoid recalling and discussing the details. I assume there's blood everywhere. Yeah? Smell of gunpowder and smoke?
Yeah.
Did they die right away?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Arthurs had come unhinged, but he wasn't finished with his psychotic terror spree. He traded his rifle for a 9mm handgun. You call your father.
I love you, Dad. He won't be hearing from me again. He thinks it's a joke. My mother tells me to put the gun down immediately.
That wasn't enough to snap you out of the red zone?
It kind of did.
It did?
It did.
Well, you didn't put the gun down.
Well, did I shoot anybody else?
Well,
did I discharge the weapon?
You picked up another gun.
Did I put in my hands on anybody in that building?
You leave the condo and you go to the leasing office, right?
Yeah. Did I kidnap anybody in that building?
To announce the murders.
Yes.
Did he say he just killed those people, or he's about to?
Yeah, he said that he killed 2 people. He said that he killed 2 people. He's aggressively walking. I'm afraid he's going to start shooting people.
And he's going to that plaza?
She's walking towards the plaza.
Then you leave the leasing office and you take hostages at the local smoke shop. Why?
I tried suicide by cop.
You were trying to kill yourself?
Yes.
By taking hostages? As I press him, Arthurs gets increasingly agitated as he struggles to justify his murderous actions and a hostage standoff with police.
Yes.
Police would attack him.
David, I understand what you're doing, and I respect that. That's your job.
Well, I'm just asking
And I understand
questions.
that. David, I understand that. Please hear me out. Please, I'm talking to you as an... Screw that camera, screw everybody else. I'm telling you personally that when it comes down to it, I had no intent to lay my finger on those people or to hurt those people.
You didn't?
I let them know that they were going home. That's in the deposition. Would you like to reflect on that?
You said to one of the hostages, why shouldn't I kill you? That doesn't sound like you're comforting them.
To scare them so that they wouldn't try to rush at me. If they had rushed at me, I wouldn't have shot them or hurt them. But it has a question, David, and I just want to, and this is a question for the viewers, all right? If I was inside that smoke shop, right, I have nothing to lose at that point. I have nothing to lose at that point in my mind. I'm thinking that I need to die because it's over, and I can't bring this to myself to put this through my families, all right? Now, the point is that, listen, I could have killed everybody in that building, and I didn't. It didn't run through my mind. I could have killed those 2 officers, and I didn't. I told them to leave the building as soon as they entered the building.
You think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
I'm telling you that wasn't my intent, so don't try to frame it that was my intent. I wouldn't have shot them or hurt them. But as a question,
the case was all over the news. I'll often listen to the news or read the paper and say, that's going to be on my desk tomorrow.
Forensic psychologist Valerie McLean got the call to examine Arthurs after the murders.
Do you think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
I'm telling you that wasn't my intent, so don't try and frame it that was my intent.
He's very fixated on trying to make sure that he gets heard about why this is his belief system about it, which I don't think is grounded in the reality of the situation. And I think that he's trying to reconstruct it, and it's not making a lot of sense. And I think he's frustrated because he doesn't understand his own behaviors at the time. He's actually in a pressured state as he's talking. His speech is interruptive. He's not able to be redirected, which is what we see with hypomania. And his frustration is that someone's challenging that belief system and saying, but that might not be the way it is.
Arthur surrendered to police and would then unravel the madness and motives behind the murders.
I remember in a blur, I shot them both, and I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't thinking sane. I wasn't thinking like a rational human being at that point. If I could go back, I would not do that, you know. And I remember I was in a trance at that point when that happened. I wasn't thinking clearly.
The explanation you offer to police in that interrogation is that you are mentally unstable and that you literally went ballistic when you killed them. And that you wish you had sought psychiatric treatment when your family urged you to do so earlier in life.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, I agree with that 110%.
Would you say that you're sane or insane? It took a double murder and a hostage standoff with police to burn off 18-year-old Devin Arthur's violent rage.
Sir, can you state your name for the record, please? My name is Devin Sean Ryan Arthurs.
Now he was coolly sitting in front of police detectives, trying to explain the rampage.
I felt very calm and collected after I did it. I felt like I wasn't really capable of feeling empathy for it. I'm very prone to getting angry a lot. I'm very to the point where I think that I might be kind of sick in that sense.
The interrogation opens a window into Arthur's mania. He offers not one motive for his actions, but pivots from one self-serving story to another. You shift between three different explanations for your actions, and I want to talk about each one of them. One, that you reacted or overreacted to being ridiculed for your faith. Outraged, you say, by the U.S. coalition bombing in Syria.
Yes, I was.
I'm very, very angry about what goes on in Iraq and Syria. And I remember they kept on getting me angry about that.
Do you consider yourself a terrorist?
By the definition of what I've done.
You also said that you were sympathetic to Al-Qaeda in that interrogation. You say,
to be honest, like I'm sympathetic with groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that.
This brings me to the perhaps shrewdest explanation that you offered to police, and frankly, I find it the least likely of the three explanations. 6 minutes into the interrogation, you claim that you murdered these men to prevent them from carrying out future terrorist attacks.
I think that's the best way to put it, a necessary evil. I prevented the deaths of a lot of people.
You still stand by that claim?
I agree. I would say that, yeah. I was really concerned under the level that they were going to go target mosques and they're going to target synagogues, they're going to target churches. I gave 45 years of my life to stop this organization.
Let's come to that. The idea that you were acting heroically is a delusion.
I don't think I was acting heroically.
If I hadn't shut this organization down by doing this, there'd be a lot more people dead than just 2 people from that organization.
You think the right thing to do would be to end him in order to prevent this organization from...
As tragically as it is, yes.
The way you describe it, you're basically turning a brutal murder into an act of heroism by saying that you were acting to save civilian lives from future terrorist attacks.
Well, I certainly was.
That's a way of aggrandizing yourself.
David, I can see where that comes from in that context, and the thing is, I don't have any intent to really hurt innocent people. If I could bring Jeremy and Andrew back, I would.
I'm sure you would now, but when you offer this explanation to police, Was that just the cover story to reduce your culpability?
I mean, I was smart enough to know that they're not going to let me walk out those gates.
Well, it makes you look less evil if you have some greater good that you're protecting.
That's a fair point.
I gave 45 years of my life to stop this organization.
So we definitely see some of the grandiosity coming out with Mr. Arthur's belief that he had that role, that he had that mission, that he had to stop the organization.
Dr. Valerie McLean is a top forensic psychologist hired after the murders to evaluate Arthur's. She sees in Arthur's actions and in our interview a marker for psychopathic madness known as grandiosity.
All of a sudden went from being a good organization to a bad organization, and it was his mission, his job to take care of it personally. I think that there is a tremendous amount of rationalization about his actions to create a situation that would justify why he did what he did. And he again promotes himself into a more grandiose role of being a savior.
Are you familiar with the term grandiosity?
Oh, yeah, when you feel like almost a messianic type.
Yes, an unrealistic sense of superiority. Yeah, at its worst, it becomes delusional.
Correct.
Delusions of grandeur, where the person adopts false beliefs that sometimes revolve around.
The Holocaust never happened. You know, the synagogue down the road is controlling Wall Street. It's delusional.
It can also be a marker for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
And I've been diagnosed with that.
I was like, my animosity was like up to here. My hatred was up to here. I already had those thoughts in my mind in the sense of like, these people are worthless, these people are the worst, you know.
I was working my way to the most likely explanation for the murders and the most candid of Devin Arthur's explanations to police. That you are mentally unstable and that you literally went ballistic when you killed them. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you became enraged, right?
I guess you could say that, but I was also intensely in fear. You can be in fear and be enraged at the same time, David. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I could think about it.
You've never, well, I mean,
you said to police,
no, you're dodging the question.
I'm not here to be interviewed. You've agreed to be interviewed.
You want to ask loaded questions, and that's fine.
Well, they're all loaded questions.
They are. Well, thank you for admitting that, but I appreciate it. But
all right, listen. You told police that you wish you had sought psychiatric treatment when your family urged you to do so earlier in life.
Correct.
My family's been telling me, like, you know, go to a hospital, try to get this stuff sorted and stuff like that. I wish I had listened to my family. It's like, I wish I had followed what they were recommending me to do.
Yes. I agree with that 110%.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like there was some awareness that you were out of your mind.
It was unfortunate, and I'm liable for this as basically somebody that I should have received that. I should have gotten treatment, David.
Would you say that you're sane or insane?
I honestly don't know.
It's an honest answer. And it's a question that would delay justice in the double homicide for 6 long years, while doctors and lawyers debated Arthur's mental competence and the reasons for his murderous rage.
He murdered them because he was angry and he had a loaded gun in his hand. That's why he murdered them.
Do you think you belong in prison? After Devin Arthurs was arrested for the brutal execution of Andrew Onischuk and Jeremy Himmelman, his guilt was not in question, but his sanity was, and quickly became local news fodder.
Former Tampa neo-Nazi accused of shooting his 2 roommates to death is expected in court in the next few hours.
Doctors are expected to reveal their findings about Devin Arthur's mental state.
Local news crews caught his odd antics on camera, and it became increasingly clear that he was mentally deranged.
Devin Arthur's appearance in court was anything but ordinary. Everyone in the courtroom got a first-hand look at Arthur's appearing to choke himself to the point of unconsciousness.
And as he faced double homicide charges in Florida, there was little certainty that Arthurs was sane enough for his case to proceed in court.
My first impressions were that he was very flat in his affect, not a lot of emotion going on. He was a very ill, mentally disturbed individual, untreated from the standpoint of having the schizoaffective disorder, delusions, depression, mood swings, also just the underlying impulsivity.
Arthur's defense hired one of Florida's top forensic psychologists, Dr. Valerie McLean, who argued the young man would need prolonged treatment before he could be considered legally competent.
Hi, Dr. McLean. This is Judge Ward. I've got Mr. Peacock with the defense.
Good afternoon, Doc. Tell me what conclusions you would currently have with regards to the statutory criteria for determining competence with regards to Mr. Arthurs.
I do not think that at this point in time that he is competent to proceed.
As the case progressed, there were psychotic symptoms that he was exhibiting, believing that when seeing the actual deceased victims and communicating with them, self-injurious behaviors, specifically choking behaviors, he would actually grab himself by the throat, and you could see he was actually closing his throat off with the breathing. I saw it as in a way to basically cease thinking, cease feeling.
Your Honor, on May the 19th of 2007.
It's difficult to tell with somebody who has what appear to be legitimate mental health issues, how much of it is being exaggerated and how much of it is legitimate. It was my personal belief that he was competent to stand trial based on the criteria for competence.
In speaking with officers, he confesses a number of times to the murders of Mr. Himmelman.
But prosecutor Ron Gale saw in Arthur's courtroom antics the specter of justice delayed and denied by lengthy psychiatric treatment for a man who quite simply flew into a rage and decided to kill.
So is it possible he felt, based on what he did, that Andrew and Jeremy were in the room with him? That may be something that anybody would experience who had done what Devin Arthurs did, not necessarily related to his mental health. He murdered his roommates for the oldest reason for murder that we have, just because he was angry. They made him angry, he had a gun in his hand, and he used the gun in anger to kill his roommates.
For 6 years, the victims' families waited, not knowing if Arthurs would ever be held to account for his crimes, as doctors and lawyers argued over his sanity and competence.
I know I had multiple conversations, specifically with the Onischuk family, to the effect that I was not sure we were ever going to have him found competent by a court. I just was not sure that we were ever going to get there.
The local community and media were gripped by the debate.
Judge has determined that former neo-Nazi Devin Arthurs, the man who claimed he killed his roommates in 2017, is incompetent to stand trial. The court said
Ultimately, the court sided with Arthur's defense and sent him to the state's only criminal mental health facility, the Florida State Hospital in Chattahoochee. In fact, it took years to establish that you were even competent mentally to stand trial.
You know, these are typically tropes of people with schizophrenia. Well, here I am in a psych prison camp, and I've spent years at Chattahoochee receiving mental health treatment.
I want to be able to get the proper help. I think that I would much rather be at a mental hospital where I should have been. I feel sick, and I feel like I'm not right in the head, and I feel like once I get there, like if I can, I just want to talk to the doctors and be like, look, like I need to be isolated, and I need to be transferred to like a hospital or something like that to get the right meds, to get the right things, you know, for me to be thinking properly.
Were these statements about your mental illness in the interrogation, was that a ploy to set up an insanity defense?
No, I really wanted to go to trial. I wanted to basically go and get this taken care of. I took the competency test when I was at Chattahoochee to come back, and I knew that I most likely would get a life sentence. But the point is that I know I'm gonna get life, but I wanna give my piece. When I gave my piece in court, when I gave that piece, I said, I wanna be an advocate against extremism.
I feel like I can try to better myself, make myself a better human being, and make the lives of those around me better as well. And I hope that I can do things with my life even when I'm free, and dedicating my life against extremism and hate groups and many things like that.
You also repeatedly asked to talk to the FBI, basically offering yourself as an informant.
Absolutely. Well, in the context of stopping terrorism, yeah, absolutely.
Well, was that a bid for leniency?
It was a bid to prevent it.
If I could get like a meeting with an FBI agent or something like that, I could shut down like not just Adam, but several other organizations. They get some kind of plea bargain for what I've said and what I've pretty much prevented from happening.
So did you really kill those men to stop and save future civilian lives? Or were you just trying to save yourself from the wrath of Florida justice?
I would say that The wrath of Florida justice was going to be implemented no matter what. And if I was going to spite the state of Florida, if I wanted to spite society, I wouldn't have said anything.
Well, it's an interesting question because the men that you murdered, right, they were kind of on the fringes of the group. So if you were trying to stop the group, why wouldn't you have targeted the leader?
I didn't premeditate this crime of passion. It was wrong. I'm again like David, like I'm.
Heat of the moment, that rings true. What doesn't ring true is that you were acting for some greater good to save future lives. How about target no one and call the authorities?
Yeah, you're right. But the problem is that you're right about that in that context. A lot of people ask me that question, and it's a reasonable question to ask. The problem is,
What's the answer?
The problem is that they weren't doing anything, David.
Who wasn't?
The law enforcement.
And it would have been better if they would have just gotten through the system and caught and maybe go to jail or something like that for what they were planning.
In 2023, 6 years after murdering Jeremy Himmelman and Andrew Onischuk, Devin Arthurs finally emerged from a psychiatric hospital and returned to court to face punishment for his crimes.
In a similar situation, causing such pain for so many people, including the victims' families.
The families of his victims had patiently and painfully waited for justice.
Devin likes to use the American flag as a doormat. Like when you enter your house, they would, wipe on it, stomp on it, spit on it. Jeremy and Andrew, every morning before work, picked up the flag, they hanged it back up.
Now, he'd finally have to face them.
Can I speak directly to Devin?
He can hear you.
Do you think about the victims' families? They got life sentences. Six long years after killing two young men in cold blood, 23-year-old Devin Arthurs was finally found mentally competent to face up to his crimes. But instead of going to trial, Arthurs was able to cut a deal with prosecutors and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder.
How do you wish to plead to these charges?
I plead guilty.
Florida prosecutor Ron Gale said the deal provided closure for the families.
It's the families at that point that I need to make sure are adequately represented, and I'm seeking justice for their families. They really didn't want to go through a trial. Another fear of mine was that Devin's mental health would deteriorate again to a degree where he would be found incompetent again.
But Arthurs also benefited. By waiving his right to a trial, Arthurs would avoid a life sentence and may one day regain his freedom.
I will adjudicate him guilty. I will sentence him to 45 years in Florida State Prison.
I feel awful about everything that happened. I want to dedicate the rest of my life to trying to better myself and trying to make the right choices.
In court, Arthurs blamed the influence of online extremists and pledged that for the rest of his life, he'd fight against them.
Ms. Borghetti, if you want to unmute yourself, we can hear you here in the courtroom.
Can I speak directly to Devin?
He can hear you.
Jeremy Himmelman's sister then addressed Arthurs by telephone in open court.
I want to believe everything you're saying. I also just want you to know that we're still suffering. I don't hate you. I feel sad that your whole life is going to be in prison. I feel sad that there's no alternative, that you can go and heal whatever happened to you that brought you to this point.
Do you think you belong in prison?
Yeah, I committed a crime. And honestly, I own up to that. Actually, my time that I spend in prison isn't me saying that, oh man, I hate this place. No, I'm gonna make the most of my time while I'm here, and I'm gonna try to help people. And I'm in a dog program. I do horticulture, and I'm gonna put to use my time here. I try to do everything I can to facilitate classes and stuff and help people.
Yeah. Do you think about the victims' families? They got life sentences.
They did, and it's tragic.
When you killed them, you told police that you were concerned that you couldn't feel empathy for the victims.
I was really concerned because in the moment that I did it, I was just incredibly scared, panicked, angry, and I'm just, honestly.
So you told them, I felt very calm and collected after I did it, and I felt like I wasn't really capable of feeling empathy for it.
I felt very calm and collected after I did it. I felt like I wasn't really capable of feeling empathy for it.
Calm and collected does not mean that you're not making irrational decisions-making skills. So there's people that'll appear basically thinking, I'll jump off the scaffolding, or I'll hang myself, or I'll go and I'll blow my brains out. They might appear stoic when they do so, but their line of thinking itself is delusional.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's what I was really trying to say in that context.
When Devin Arthurs shot Jeremy Himmelman and Andrew Onischuk at point-blank range, they were just 18 and 22 years old.
It is a heartbreaking situation because despite their involvement in this organization, both Andrew and Jeremy were so young and they had so much time ahead of them.
The victims had moved into the Florida headquarters of the neo-Nazi Atomwaffen Division less than 3 weeks before the murders, and tragically, were planning on returning home just days later.
And hopefully at some point, if they had not been killed, they would have learned enough or matured enough to extricate themselves from this situation and stop the spread of the hate from this toxic organization and, normalize their lives.
To be radical and extremist, that's
not your brother.
That is not my brother.
In public appearances, the victims' families struggled to make sense of the crime.
This was a neo-Nazi cell, and the things that I knew my brother was involved with online were very much real and in person, which made the whole thing infinitely worse, because it's one thing to lose a brother and a child, it's another to be hit with this.
The families, they'll struggle for the rest of their lives to reconcile this.
You're right, David. You're right. And I don't feel any type of happiness. I feel the utmost sadness for it. I pay for it right now.
Although the problem is you cannot pay for it.
Correct.
Nothing that you do, no amount of years you spend here is going to reconcile.
Nothing, but I still take accountability. I should have gotten mental health treatment. And David, listen, I don't have any intent to really hurt innocent people. I don't ever want to do that. I want to eventually get out to the street, be a returning citizen, and go and be a contributive member of society. I don't want to go and hurt people.
Are you on medication now?
No, sir.
Are you under active psychiatric treatment?
Yeah, I am. So I go and I see them about once a month, and they help me out. And I haven't heard any voices or seen anything.
Do you still worry about your mental health and state?
Yeah, so that's why I like to go up there to medical, and I talk to a mental health personnel. I let them know about how I'm feeling, and I try to gauge and ask myself. I use all sorts of different ways: prayer, meditation, self-reflection. I'm like, am I a little bit too angry today? Am I a little bit too sad today?
Do you have remorse in your heart?
I absolutely do. I wish that everything you said, well, why didn't you go to police department? I wish I had done that, David. I wish I had done that. I don't take any pleasure in hurting people.
I think our time is up. I appreciate you, Sean. I left Devin Arthurs to his manic mix of revision and regret. Even with 4 decades awaiting him behind bars, he has hope for eventual freedom. Hope that he robbed in an angry instant from his victims and the families who loved them.